Okay, Mayor Rilling, we are live.
All right, we are live, and so I will call the November 24th meeting of the Norwalk Common Council to order at 7:31. If you'll all rise and join me with a salute to the flag of our nation. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
to the flag
Flag
of the
of the
United States of America and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all.
Thank you all. First item agenda is the roll call. Clerk, if you'll please read the announcement and call the roll.
This meeting is being recorded for rebroadcast. We ask everyone to speak clearly one at a time. Please state your name when called upon by the presiding chair. Members of the public can access this meeting by telephone, Zoom, or the City of Norwalk YouTube channel. Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Ms. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Langella,
Here.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Present.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Hugelman,
Present.
Mr. Roberts,
Present.
Ms. Ravulis,
Present.
Ms. Young,
Here.
Mr. Kides,
Here.
Mr. Theodorides,
Here.
Mr. Keegan,
Here.
Mr. Sirenides,
Here.
Mr. Livingston,
Here.
Ms. Shanahan. 15 present, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, acceptance of the minutes. First, the special meeting of November 4th, 2020. Do I have a motion? From Ms. Smith. Any corrections, deletions, additions, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is the November regular approval of the regular minutes. Let's try that again. Acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 10th, 2020. Do I have a motion? Ms. Shanahan, any corrections, deletions, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor, again, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Burnett is abstaining. And the motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have public participation. Mr. Manzi, do we have anyone who has indicated a desire to address the council?
No, we do not, Mayor.
Mr. Anderson, I see that you're on. Do you wish to address the council relative to an item that's on the agenda tonight?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can see on the agenda, there is an item to have portions of a water street between Raymond and Concord Street named in honor of my husband, Fire Chief Sanford Anderson. That's it. I just get too emotional when I talk about it. But he was, as everyone knows, he was on the fire department for 46 years. Very wonderful man. And I just pray that you all will honor him by naming those blocks after Fire Chief Sanford Sandy W. Anderson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. It's kind of interesting because Ms. Anderson is probably about 100 feet from me right now. She's my neighbor. Any other people wishing to address the council?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. King. Any council people have any correspondence that needs to be read in from a member of the public? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. There are no resignations or appointments tonight, although we expect to have many of them coming up in the first meeting of December. My comments, just rather simple. Of course, you know, we're still in the red zone, as is probably 98% of the state of Connecticut and many of the states around us and around the country. We're trying to increase the testing. Anybody who's driven by Vets Park can see exactly how many people are trying to get tested. One thing, the Day Street Community Center, who is doing a lot of the testing, is looking to get volunteers, looking to hire people. We have been allocated a few, I don't know how many, not an awful lot, of the Coast Guard to help with traffic control, registration, and other kinds of things. And we're hoping that we will also increase our testing locations. We're doing some testing locations at Brian McMahon High School. We do have some plans to try doing testing at Norwalk Community College, but it is very, very challenging to find the locations. And there are similar lines all over the state of Connecticut where they're doing testing. We also have website information where if a person is looking to get tested at one of the other locations, such as a CVS or an urgent care center, they can find that information online. Also, now, you know, there are a lot of nonprofits in our area. They need our help more now than ever. With COVID and people losing their jobs, not only have their donations fallen significantly, they're getting requests for more help. So it's really, it's kind of like a double whammy. They're getting less money and more people need help. So this time of the year, it's Thanksgiving, when we really feel thankful for the blessings that we do have. I encourage everyone to donate as much as you possibly can. Help them help others, because that's what this is all about. And if you know people that would like to donate, there are a number of places that do really, really good work here in the city of Norwalk. And I would encourage everybody to dig deep, help out when you can. Last but not least, as you know, the day after tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I want to take this moment, this opportunity, to do a couple of things. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Common Council members, the people who work for very little money. This can be a very challenging job in the best of times. As we're going through the pandemic, it's even more challenging. People are reaching out to you, looking for help. It's very challenging to meet like this. But I want to thank you because this council has been professional and been a cohesive group of individuals that work hard on behalf of the city. And I know from speaking to members out in the community that the people in the community appreciate all that you do. But I want to thank you personally for the work that you do on behalf of this really, really great city. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the employees of the city of Norwalk. They are working very hard every single day. Some are working from home, others are working from the office. Others, unfortunately, are being quarantined right now, and others have contracted the virus. But again, these are challenging times. And I always say that in the darkest of nights, the stars shine their brightest. And certainly members of the Common Council, employees of the city of Norwalk, are shining stars who are carrying the city through this very, very difficult time. So I want to wish everybody a happy, peaceful, and safe Thanksgiving. Thank you. Mr. Sacchinelli?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I suppose I should expect that you're going to be a hard act to follow going forward. So I want to reiterate as well to take the opportunity and wish everybody a happy and more importantly, a healthy Thanksgiving. Tonight, the consent calendar is going to be read by Mr. Kadeem Roberts. We'll go right into it.
Thank you, President Sacchinelli. 7A, 1,
7A, Finance and Claims Committee. 7A1, accept and approve the report of Claims Committee dated November 12th, 2020. 7A2, the informational purposes only. Narrative on tax collections dated November 12th, 2020. 7A3, for informational purposes only. Monthly tax collectors report dated October 2020. 7A4, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute any and all amount necessary to accept the CTCL COVID-19 response grant in addition of $51,714. 7D, Community Services and Personnel Committee. 7D1, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a sub-grant, a sub-grant agreement between the City of Norwalk and Odyssey Learning, Inc. to provide the child daycare grant funding in the amount of $460,598.81 for the fiscal year 2021 and $628,410.09 for the fiscal year of 2022 for eligible program expenses. 7D2, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a sub-grant agreement between the City of Norwalk and Growing Seeds to Child Develop Center, Inc. to provide the child daycare grant funding in the amount of $476,890.45 for the fiscal year 2021 and $637.41 for the fiscal year of 2022 for eligible program expenses. 7D3, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a sub-grant agreement between the City of Norwalk and Trinity CDC, Inc. to provide for child daycare grant funding in the amount of $70,860.36 for the fiscal year of 2021 and $96,678.48 for the fiscal year of 2022 for eligible program expenses. 7D4, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a sub-grant agreement between the City of Norwalk and Connecticut Institution for Communities, Inc. Greater Norwalk Head Start to provide for child daycare grant funding in the amount of $95,410.81 for the fiscal year of 2021 and $130,413.29 for the fiscal year of 2022 for eligible program expenses. 7D5, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a sub-grant agreement between the City of Norwalk and Stepping Stones Museum for Children, Inc. to provide for child daycare grant funding in the amount of $26,573.01 for the fiscal year of 2021 and $36,254.43 for the fiscal year of 2022 in 2022 for eligible program expenses.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. With that, I'd like to, Ms. King, would you assist in calling a roll call vote?
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Langella,
Aye.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Hubelman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Ms. Revulis,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kites,
Yes.
Mr. Theodorides,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Sirenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sacchinelli. So the next item is item 7B1, Mr. Sirenides.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move item 7B1 and briefly speak on it. approve the request for the honorary naming of the portion of Water Street from the intersection of Raymond Street to the intersection of Concourse Street to Fire Chief Anderson Drive.
Yes, sir. You have the floor.
Even though I didn't know Chief Anderson, once this item came before the Public Works Committee, I took the opportunity to ask friends and fire department personnel about Chief Anderson. They all came back with the same descriptions of admiration, respect, and stories of the support and devotion for the department and its personnel. I think this is a well-deserved honor for a man that devoted a big part of his life to the department and Norwalk itself. Also, he did grow up in that area in Washington Village. So I think this would be a great honor.
Thank you, Mr. Serenides. Do we have any further comment? I would just like to add because, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Young, I didn't see your hand. Go right ahead.
No, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, this has been a long time coming for Mrs. Anderson and the fire chief, Sanford Anderson, but I think it's the right time. That area is developing, and it is just going to be a wonderful thing to have Fire Chief Anderson's name and memory attached to the area. And so I know we said a lot of our accolades during our committee meeting, but just wanted to reiterate how I know, Ms. Anderson, how proud you are of your husband and all that he's accomplished in the city of Norwalk. And so I just want to say thank you to the rest of the council for making this happen. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Any further discussion? Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. During this very pivotal time in our history, I think it's also important to point out that Chief Anderson was the first African-American firefighter in the city of Norwalk. And I think it's so appropriate during this very pivotal time in our history that we recognize him for being a trailblazer and making a difference in the city of Norwalk, and his legacy continues on going forward.
Thank you. Further comments? I couldn't agree more with everything that has just been said. As you know, Fire Chief Anderson lived next door to me, and his beautiful wife still does. I had the great pleasure of serving with Sandy for many, many years in my position as deputy police chief and then police chief. He was, all I can say, he was full of energy, very dedicated, and one of the most important things to Fire Chief Anderson was training for his firefighters, helping them become the best firefighters they could so that they can protect the men and women and children of this community. And, you know, every time you'd see Sandy, it's always a smile, a wave, very loud, by the way, and having a great time no matter where he was. And he was also which I'm very fond of as well, a Navy vet. He served in the military as well. And as Mr. Burnett said, first African-American firefighter, first African-American fire chief. And then when his contract expired, he was hired to be the fire chief in Greenwich, Connecticut. So he was well liked, well respected in the area. And I know that Josephine, I saw how you cared for Sandy during his final days. You know, when he would walk out the door and I'd see him downstairs, even though he was in pain, he still had that smile and that wave, and it would just light up wherever he was. So I am so happy that the council is doing this, and we will invite the council members and Josephine when we have a plaque dedicated not only to Fire Chief Anderson at Station 5 on Meadow Street, but also we'll have a special ceremony when we dedicate the street in his name. So again, thank you. And Ms. King, I think we should have a roll call vote on this.
Mr. Burnett,
Absolutely, aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Langella,
Aye.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Hubelman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Honored, aye.
Ms. Revulis,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kides,
Yes.
Mr. Theodorides,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Great big yes.
Mr. Sirenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
It's unanimous, Mayor.
I think a round of applause is certainly in order. Thank you so much. We look forward to the day when we can unveil the street sign. Next item on the agenda is item 7C1, Planning Committee, Mr. Kides.
Mayor, item C1, approve the amendments to the PY 45 Annual Action Plan and authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents associated with the submission to HUD. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that and just briefly speak to it as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. As many as you know, a lot of these nonprofit organizations are having a really hard time trying to keep up with the demands of COVID. And also at the same time, for the reason of COVID, having a hard time fundraising, which, obviously with their annual events and so forth. So I think we've been really lucky to receive additional federal funding to help a lot of these organizations that are helping to combat and support those affected by COVID. And these monies are directly going to that and associated with that. So, and also just briefly want to thank the planning committee who did a great job vetting these organizations. I know we all wish we had all the money in the world to satisfy everyone's needs, but I think we really did a good job with the money we did have. And I know there's a lot of staple organizations such as the Maritime Aquarium, Person to Person, which is a great organization, and a slew of others that are receiving funding to help them through these tough times. And hopefully this item will pass unanimously this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kides. Any further discussion? Trying to scan because I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, so no further discussion. Ms. King, would you please take a roll call vote?
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Langella,
Aye.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Hubelman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Ms. Revulis,
I think she might be frozen.
there she is,
Sorry, yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kides,
Yes.
Mr. Theodorides,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Sirenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan,
Yes.
passes unanimously.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Do I have another motion? Ms. Shanahan.
Motion to adjourn and wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thanksgiving, everyone. Good night.
Okay, okay, everybody in favor? Opposed? Motion carries abstentions? Motion carries unanimously, I believe. So again, thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving with you
Be
and your
safe,
families.
be